2,000 chariots to the battlefield. Okay, now it was up in Syria. So Ahab here, based in Israel, brings 2,000 chariots way up into Syria. He traveled a great distance and actually brought more to that battlefield than any other king brought. It was a massive coalition of 12 kings, of 12 different people groups, each one bringing troops and each one bringing chariotry, but Ahab was the most significant player. And so this is the place where we see evidence of much of Ahab's strength militarily. By the way, Ahab was probably the most, militarily speaking, the most powerful king Israel had ever known. He was internationally known. He was a great king from a political standpoint, from an economic standpoint perhaps. But as you know, if you read the Bible, you don't get that impression at all. Why would that be? Because actually the Bible just relays that Ahab was a giant loser, that he did nothing right in terms of theology, in terms of worship. And so when it came to worshiping Yahweh, he was the biggest failure. But if you look at it from a political standpoint, he was a great success. Which perspective, of course, do we need to hear? We need to hear God's perspective on it. So it's a nice contrast that I think archaeology helps us to read the Bible more sharply. Okay, this trench you're looking at, this is probably the greatest trench that I'm aware of in Israeli archaeology. This trench was hewn out by the University of Chicago. They moved a lot of earth. Today, archaeology does not do this. These were earlier methods where they moved a lot very quickly. Now, all of the earth that they moved is right out here. You see these hills covered in this green grass here? This is the dump. All right, it's the dump that came out of this trench. So this is a massive trench, but it also illustrates for us stratigraphy. Just look at this wall of dirt. You can see the strata in the dirt. The top levels are Iron Age 1, like the Judges period that Ori was talking about. Below that is late bronze. Below that is the middle bronze. Below that is the early bronze. And that goes down right to the bedrock. And so if you look down just in the direction that I'm pointing here, this is roughly where they reached bedrock. And so that's how they're able to count all of the strata from top to bottom. As we move up, there is a series of temples here, Canaanite temples, that are extensive and numerous. In fact, there are a pile of temples, all built one on top of the other in successive generations and successive civilizations. And most prominent, you can still see this circular altar down in the hole. Make sure you do see this before you walk away. There's this massive circular altar from the early bronze period. So figure like 3000 BC. This is very early. It's about 10 meters in diameter. Is that right across? It's about 10 meters in diameter. You can see the staircase leading up to it. This was a sacrificial altar. Even though this is a 3,000-year-old altar, it was covered in animal remains when they uncovered it. Animal bones all over it. So it certainly was a sacrificial altar. When that went out of use, they built another temple on top. And when that one went out of use, they built another temple on top. And this was the case all through the Canaanite strata. This is, ironically, the high place of Megiddo. And of course, we're all looking down at it. But in its day, this was probably the high place where all of the worship took place. Okay, well, any other comments, David or Uri?
Yes.
Go.